The Navy SEAL who killed Osama Bin Laden will be revealed. Another Democratic senator sidesteps President Obama. Plus, our picks for Hero or Zero of the week. All these stories and more coming up on The Rundown.
All right, stand by. 10 seconds.
Ready, camera,
Talent.
Ready, camera.
Record.
3, 2, 1.
Record.
Thanks so much for joining us. This is The Rundown, where we run down some of the big stories making headlines. I'm your host, John Phillips. It's all one big happy family under one roof today, because everyone's in Los Angeles, including PJTV contributor Michelle Fields. Yay! And right next to her, the columnist for the Washington Times, so you can get online at WashingtonTimes.com, Tammy Bruce. Now it's time to go to the top of the rundown. And Michelle, you're up first.
At the top of my rundown, incumbent Alaska Democratic Senator Mark Begich is keeping his distance from President Obama. The senator is locked in a tight race as he seeks re-election. Like other Democrats, Begich is hoping his odds of winning go up the further he distances himself from the president. 1/3 of Alaskans approve of the job the president is doing. Does this surprise you, Tammy, that everyone's running away from him?
I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun. I think it's great. But it also reminds you that I would have a lot more respect for every Democrat if they just stood for their principles. They have been attached at the hip to Obama for 6 years. They love him. He's everything. He's the best guy in the world. And now
they won't even say if they voted for him.
They won't even say that. So this is, for me, I think a lot of Americans would appreciate the ability to really articulate what you stand for and why you've loved this guy, and that you're not just in it to try to trick people. So, of course, it's not surprising. The good news is that the American people, according to the latest polls, aren't falling for it.
Tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't think that I am. But in yesteryear, the Democrats actually had ideological differences from one another. You were to look at some of the old guys from the South that had been there for a long time. Maybe they were New Dealers economically, but certainly socially they were very different than Democrats from, say, the Northeast or the Far West. Now, I don't really think there's much of a difference between these Democrats, between Mark Begich in Alaska or Claire McCaskill in Missouri or someone from the Northeast. I think they all pretty much think the same thing. But they know that they can't sell that when they go home. So they have to cut ads on snowmobiles, or they have to cut ads shooting guns, and they have to play the part of whatever state it is that they come from.
Well,
but deep down, they're with the president ideologically on virtually everything. And it's so awkward to see these guys like Mark Begich try to go home and pretend like he's something that he's not. Mark Pryor in Arkansas is having a very difficult time doing that too, and it's because it's just not sincere.
Well, and they're going to get fired because of it. I mean, I don't think people, Michelle, you don't think people are believing it, right?
I don't. I think their constituents know that it's all an act. I don't believe that they think that they're really like that.
And I think maybe earlier it was a game and there wasn't so much at stake, you thought. But now everything's at stake. And they realize that you can't take these things for granted, that you want people who really stand for things. And I think that the people who maybe normally would have been in the Democratic Party who stand for something different maybe would have been like a Rand Paul. That when you're looking at people who are maybe socially liberal, who want a hands-off dynamic, that would have been more appealing to naturally fit within the Democratic Party. And now they're either independent or they're Republicans.
Well, and that's the difference. And you're going to see this play out in the presidential primary.
Yeah.
There are legitimate ideological differences between Republicans.
Yes,
Rand
exactly.
Paul is a world of difference from Mike Huckabee.
That's right.
And you're going to see that play out.
That's
or
right.
Bolton. I mean, they're all completely different.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, Tammy, what do you have for us?
Well, at the top of my rundown, the Navy SEAL who killed Osama Bin Laden will be speaking out in an exclusive interview with Fox News. Fox correspondent Peter Doocy will host the 2-night documentary. It's a special, November 11th and 12th. It's called The Man Who Killed Osama Bin Laden. The Navy SEAL will show his face and reveal his identity. He will also talk about what he saw that night, and I'm sure hopefully it was fabulous, and Bin Laden's final moments. Ugh, during that infamous raid 3 years ago. What I love about this, you guys, especially Michelle, is the fact that it's with Fox News, which means this is a guy with a particular political point of view, that the administration's tried to hide this under the guise that'll make things worse. We've never seen the Bin Laden death photos. This is, I think, a real important statement about what the American people can handle and being able to share information.
And also, this administration, I'm sure, is unhappy about this because they've tried to make it seem as though Obama killed Osama bin Laden.
Yes, exactly.
And Biden has said that Obama is the one who is responsible for the death of Osama bin Laden. Here, we're finally going to get the face of the person who actually did it. I think this is great.
Here's the two things I want to know. The first thing, did Osama bin Laden hide behind the women? Because that was rumored when everything happened, everything started.
That's great.
That he was running to the bedroom and literally shielding himself with some of his wives.
Sure.
The second thing I want to know about is the dramatic incident that happened with the helicopter when the helicopter broke down and they had to blow it up.
Yeah.
And that had to be absolutely terrifying, but these guys must have just ice water in their veins.
And keep in mind, of course, we lost that entire SEAL team group in Pakistan after Biden revealed, and I'm sure that he's going to speak about, I hope he would, about the nature of the importance of secrecy to that point and what it meant when we lost, gosh, over a dozen of our SEALs.
You two work for Fox News. I don't, so I have a television question for you here. Why is it that the news channel's getting this and not Fox Network?
Well, what do you mean? You mean Fox News Channel?
Yeah, Fox News is getting it, but
Yeah.
not the network. If they get a football game that's not on the news channel, that's on Fox Network, where The Simpsons is. And why wouldn't you do a simulcast? Because this is something that I think they're going to get huge numbers on.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's part of it. I think that there is an argument for Fox News Channel where they are needing to deal with certain kind of ratings issues. This is a business in which we need to win. But secondly, I think that there might be maybe more of a political issue for the broadcast network when you're dealing with, the decision-making with hierarchy. This is a no-brainer to have it on the Fox News Channel. With the network, it might be a little bit more difficult because you're dealing with broadcast.
I think so. I think it would be more difficult. This just makes it easier.
Even
and
the
it's
subject
a political
matter.
issue.
Yeah.
Sometimes, though, when the president's doing a news conference, when there's the State of the Union, they'll do it on both.
And look, they just might. I mean, this is a special. It might be the exclusive first airing on Fox News, and then they might roll it out to the network.
That would be great.
Yeah.
A lot of people should see this. All right, at the top of my rundown, Keith Olbermann takes a stand against violent and racist Halloween costumes. So he says. Olbermann used his World's Worst segment to draw attention to those looking to dress up like Adrian Peterson or Ray Rice for Halloween. Olbermann then showed this picture, which he got off Instagram. It shows the Ritter family in blackface dressed up as Ray and Janae Rice. Olbermann blasted the couple, saying they need psychiatric help. Here's what's interesting. People do this every single year. They take whatever's in the news and they turn it into their Halloween costumes. My guess is there'll be a lot of Ebola-related costumes this year.
There's the sexy Ebola nurse that's selling out, and BuzzFeed had an article with like 30 people who have already dressed up as ISIS for Halloween.
But I don't see the problem with that. I don't see what the outrage is, because people dress up like axe murderers for Halloween. You want to compare an axe murderer to a football player who behaved badly? I mean, there's no comparison. But nobody gets offended if you dress up like an axe murderer. But people get offended if you dress up like an athlete who behaved badly.
And I think it's really good too. It's not you're not elevating the athlete. It would be embarrassing to be a Halloween character, wouldn't it? I mean, I think it's great. It's like you can't be proud of being a Halloween character. I would be very upset if somebody was going out there with a Halloween, I'm Tammy Bruce. That would be bad. At the same time, look, it's a little close. It's like, what was the name of the Australian zoo guy who got killed by the manta ray?
Oh, yes.
Somebody a celebrity went dressed as him with the manta ray thing stuck in his chest. And everyone was appalled because it was too soon. Plus it kind of depicted I think the manta ray was hanging out there, and there was a little girl involved, little kid. So maybe some things are too soon when it's about a particular individual.
Come on, it's all hilarious.
I think it has to do with how far away we are from the actual event happening. I mean, if it's too soon, then it's offensive. And it's offensive when there are little kids and they ask you, if that couple were walking and you had a little child and it's like, who is that? And you have to explain the costume. I think that's why it would be
all of these people get mocked on Saturday Night Live. And in one case, they had a white actor playing Obama who did it with makeup on.
But that's not involving death. A difference, like if you're going to dress up as ISIS, which is kind of freaking people out, but nobody's being James Foley. No one's being James Foley. And I think that's the difference. With Ray Rice, it's disgusting. Nobody's dead. I don't think anybody's dressing up as O.J. Simpson anymore, because then you'd have to be just really fat. And I don't know who's that fat anymore. Yeah, I think it's about timing and it's about taste. Irwin, right, was the Australian guy, Steve Irwin?
Steve Irwin.
Yeah, so I think it's about timing. Look, comedy is tragedy plus a day, right?
Yeah.
And that's, a lot of people miss the day. And so I think that's what people have to think about.
All right, now it's time to move on to Hero or Zero. And this is where we single out a person or group for doing something very good or very bad. And Tammy, you're up first.
Oh, gosh. My zero, this is a no-brainer, is June Shannon, otherwise known as Mama June. She's the mom to reality star Honey Boo Boo. God help me that I'm saying all these words. The family show on TLC was canceled after Shannon reportedly started dating a convicted child molester. The man, Mark McDaniel, boy, that's a winner. That's the man I've always needed, was convicted of sex crimes against one of Shannon's daughters when she was just 8 years old.
Pumpkin.
Yeah, there you go. And now there are pictures, you would know that. There are pictures showing McDaniel with the entire family, which makes you, I mean, the question has to be asked, why on earth would someone let a convicted child predator get close to their children, especially after being convicted of molesting one of those children? What is that answer, Johnny?
She can't do any better.
Well,
on a scale of 1 to 10, she's like a 0.5.
No, because she left the guy that she's with now, who seems to be a lot better. I mean, he hasn't molested anyone.
No.
For this guy.
But in terms of looks, she's a 0.5. And if she goes out and she gets a guy that's not a convicted rapist, she's going to get another 0.5. If she wants someone that's better looking than her, she's got to find someone who's damaged goods.
This woman doesn't care about, this woman doesn't care about the safety of her children, that's for sure.
No, not at all.
And you know, this is what I like. I like the TLC reaction. I like that they said, all right, well, obviously there's liability issues too. Very serious liability issues. So that was a very smart thing to do. They said that they're going to continue to help with some funding for the kids in school and stuff. That's above and beyond, which is nice. But look, this is one of those things where you watch it and you know it's going to be a train wreck, and there's not much that you can do to stop it. The fact that he's out is the problem with society. That he's available is the problem.
And he's allowed around children. He's allowed in close proximity to the victim's family. That to me is very strange.
It's not the liability aspect I think that they're worried about. How do you keep Procter & Gamble as an advertiser if you have a registered sex offenders as one of the main characters on your show?
Yeah, sure, that absolutely, that's another factor. But I think there's a good question about how is this guy allowed to be in proximity to any children under the age of 12? And there certainly is one there. These are the questions that I think it's just like the two girls that ran away from home to join ISIS. When you're a minor, how do you get on an international flight? Well, now apparently we know you can. These are things that the American people are going to want to change.
Yeah.
My zero is a man who shot and killed 2 sheriff's deputies in Northern California. Luis Enrique Monroy Bracamonte, that's one of his names. He's got many aliases. He faces murder charges in the shooting rampage that also injured a motorist and a 3rd sheriff's deputy. Bracamonte has been living in the U.S. illegally after being convicted in Arizona for selling drugs and deported by Sheriff Joe Arpaio to Mexico, not once but twice, most recently in 2001. He could face the death penalty. Investigators say he shot Sacramento County Sheriff's Deputy Daniel Oliver and then wounded a motorist while traveling to carjack them. Bracamonte and his wife Janelle Monroy then fled the scene in a sheriff's vehicle. Bracamonte then shot and killed Placer County homicide detective Michael Davis with an AR-15 assault rifle. The couple was eventually taken into custody. Another Dreamer success story.
He shouldn't have been on the streets to begin with. I mean, why is he here?
These people, it's horrible to be killed. You go on, you're a police officer, you know it's a risk. But to be killed by someone who shouldn't even be present and they're children, obviously. There's now widows, there's orphans. This is the result of this kind of policy. You can deport people, it means nothing when there's no way to keep them from returning. If this doesn't wake people up, I don't know what will.
He was a resident of Arizona, Utah, and California. He had multiple run-ins with the law, multiple convictions, traffic infractions, everything.
Still here.
The only one who deported him was Sheriff Joe.
Yeah.
Out of all these states and all these law enforcement agencies, that was the only guy that deported him. And then when he moved out of Arizona, he had free reign to do whatever he wanted, including killing sheriff's deputies.
Well, that's why the election's going to be very important this year.
All right, Michelle, take it away.
All right, my hero is Uber. The car service company brought kittens to customers this week. For $30, you could have a kitten delivered to you for 15 minutes of snuggling. This promotion took place in 7 cities on Wednesday. Many of the kittens came from shelters and are awaiting adoption. Funds raised during the promotion benefit shelters across the nation. Uber's just taking over. They also are experimenting with nurses coming to you and giving you a flu shot. I mean, they're doing, I don't know, crazy stuff. I love it. I love Uber. Uber's great in DC. And I would snuggle with a kitten for 15 minutes. I don't know if I'd pay $30 for it, but obviously someone is.
I saw something that says that they're coming into Las Vegas, too, which would be fantastic.
Yes. I'm sure the cab drivers are going to fight that.
They have been.
Now, look, so this was a one-day promotion. It did go well. It's actual kittens, not the crazy kitty that our PJTV fabulous fellows were showing you with the fangs. That would actually bring you, somebody doesn't like the kitties here at PJTV. It's actual kittens brought, see, there you go. See what it, come on, people. Little kittens, little kittens in a crate, and it was not here in LA, but it was in DC and in New York. You know, look, it's fabulous. This is entrepreneurial marketing.
Yeah.
It is the reason why companies that really feel a competition really do well, because they've got to figure out ways to bring people to them. When you're a regulated industry and there's no real competition, this kind of ingenuity goes away.
And you know what else Uber does that benefits everyone, even people that don't use it? It takes drunks off the roads.
Yeah,
That's right. There you go.
All right, that's going to do it for today's show. What do you think about our picks for Hero or Zero of the Week? Be sure to leave your comments in the comment section below. I'm John Phillips for Tammy Bruce and Michelle Fields joining me here in Los Angeles. Thanks so much for watching The Rundown.